You Are Not Your Thoughts, Stoic Tools for Clarity. Written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. You are not broken. Your mind is just loud. In the quiet moments, just before sleep, or just after waking, there it is again, the inner voice. Whispering doubt, rehearsing fears, spinning stories. Sometimes it sounds like a critic, sometimes a coward, sometimes a ghost from your past. Most people believe this voice is who they are. But what if it isn't? This book begins with a simple but radical premise: you are not your thoughts. You are the one who hears them. To understand this is to reclaim something most people have lost: clarity. Not the kind found in rare moments of peace, but the kind forged daily, in the fires of anxiety, judgment, and noise. The Stoics called it reasoned choice. Today, we might call it presence, or awareness, or simply returning to ourselves. The tools in this book are ancient, but they have never been more relevant. They are not meant to fix you, because you are not something to be fixed. They are meant to remind you of your steadiness, your freedom, your capacity to stand undisturbed even when life is not. As Viktor Frankl once wrote, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And the first change is seeing clearly: this thought is not me. This fear is not fact. This moment does not own me. You are not the storm. You are the sky. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The storm is not you. A mind in turmoil can feel like a hurricane has made its home inside your skull. Thoughts swirl, dark and fast, looping through worries, regrets, and imagined futures. You try to think your way out of it, but thinking is the storm itself. The harder you resist, the stronger it seems to grow. But what if the storm isn't you? Imagine a mountain. Still. Immovable. Around it, clouds gather, winds scream, rain pelts the earth. Yet the mountain remains. It doesn't chase away the weather. It doesn't panic when lightning cracks the sky. It stands. Silent. Solid. Unmoved. This is what the Stoics believe the self truly is, not the chaos of thoughts and emotions, but the awareness beneath them. The unshaken center. Epictetus taught, you are not your body and hair, but your will. What he meant is, you are not your thoughts, impulses, or reactions. You are the one who chooses what to do with them. Modern psychology echoes this. Cognitive behavioral therapy teaches that we are not defined by our thoughts but by our relationship to them. Thoughts are not facts. They are mental events, temporary, conditioned, often distorted. They pass through the mind like birds across a sky. To mistake yourself for every bird is to forget you are the sky. And yet, how often we do just that. A single anxious thought, I'm not good enough, can hijack an entire afternoon. One imagined judgment from someone else spirals into shame or anger. The inner critic speaks, and we believe it without question. But clarity begins when we learn to notice that voice instead of becoming it. When a thought arises, pause and say silently, there is a thought. Just that. No commentary. No resistance. No drama. It is a cloud. A passing thing. You do not have to hold on to it. Try this now. Whatever you're thinking as you read this, pause. Become aware of that thought. Now take one step back in your mind and observe it. Not analyze, not fix. Just see it. In that moment, something subtle happens, the storm quiets. Not because it disappears, but because you're no longer trapped inside it. This is detachment, not denial. Denial pushes the thought away. Detachment watches it pass. Detachment says, a storm. But I am the mountain. I remain. Seneca once wrote, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. The Stoics weren't cold or indifferent. They felt everything. But they learned to separate what happens around them from what happens within them. That's how they kept their clarity. You can do the same. When the mind storms, remember, thoughts have volume, but not authority. They can shout, but they cannot command. Unless you let them. Every time you observe instead of obey, you reclaim a piece of your peace. You return to the self that cannot be shaken. The next chapters will explore tools to help you do just that. But everything begins here, with the simple recognition: the storm is not you. You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness that notices them. Thoughts are not facts, only passing mental events. Clarity begins with detachment, not denial. When your mind becomes loud, do you react to your thoughts or observe them? Today, when a negative thought arises, pause and silently say, "This is a thought, not a truth." Let it pass. Chapter 2: Seeing from Above. Perspective is power. When you change how you see, what you see changes. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and Stoic philosopher, understood this intimately. In moments of overwhelm, he would rise, not physically, but mentally. He imagined ascending above the world, beyond the city walls, beyond the politics, beyond even his own worries. From that imagined height, the problems that once loomed so large shrank to their proper scale. This was not fantasy. It was clarity. From the ground, a traffic jam feels like the end of peace. From 30,000 feet, it's a quiet pattern of red lights threading through a city. The people are still there. The noise still exists. But your relationship to it changes. The same applies to thought. Up close, a single anxious narrative can feel like truth. Step back, and it becomes what it really is, a passing ripple in the flow of mind. This technique, known by modern psychologists as cognitive distancing, was already practiced by the Stoics 2,000 years ago. The view from above was more than a visualization. It was a discipline. A way of creating emotional distance not by suppression but by expansion. Try it. Close your eyes and imagine lifting above the room you're in. See your body from the ceiling. Rise again, above the building, the street, the neighborhood. You are now above the city. Look down. Can you see yourself? Now go higher, into the clouds, into orbit. The earth curves. The chaos fades. There is peace in the scale of things. Now return slowly. Carry with you the sense of space, of breadth, of wideness. Bring it back into the tight places of your life, the argument, the mistake, the fear. See it again, but this time from above. Ask, will this still matter in a week? A year? A lifetime? Often, the answer humbles us. When Marcus faced betrayal, illness, or even war, he reminded himself of the vastness of time and space. In Meditations, he wrote, "Observe the past, how everything has come and gone, and then look to the future, how infinite it is." He saw the present moment not as something to drown in, but to place gently within the river of all things. This shift does not dismiss pain. It frames it. From the ground, a storm feels endless. From the sky, it has boundaries. In your daily life, practice this shift. When emotion tightens your chest or panic grips your thoughts, step back, not to escape, but to reorient. Say to yourself, "Rise." Then watch your mind from that height. You are not the story it tells. You are the observer of the telling. This is the quiet power of detachment, not numbness, not coldness, but altitude. The ability to feel, and yet not fall into the feeling. The strength to witness a storm without becoming its wind. What once consumed you becomes containable. What once dominated your focus becomes one small piece of a larger view. The mind finds room to breathe again. And in that space, clarity returns. You do not need to control every thought. You need only to see it differently. The higher you rise, the smaller the chaos appears. And the smaller it appears, the less it commands you. The world will not always change. But your vantage point can. Rise often. Changing perspective changes the weight of your thoughts. The view from above shrinks problems and restores calm. Clarity comes not from control but from altitude. What current problem might appear smaller if viewed from 300 miles above? Today, when caught in a stressful thought, pause and visualize rising above it. Observe yourself from the sky. Chapter 3: Name the thought. There is a quiet but powerful shift that occurs when you stop saying, "I am anxious," and instead say, "I'm having the thought that I am anxious." One sentence entangles you. The other frees you. The mind may still race, the chest may still tighten, but something important has changed. you've stepped out of identification and into observation. This is a practice known in both Stoic philosophy and modern psychology, naming the thought instead of becoming it. It sounds simple. It is. But don't mistake simplicity for weakness. Simplicity is often the sharpest blade. The Stoics called it withholding assent. When a thought arises, I'm failing, they hate me, I can't do this, the wise Stoic does not immediately believe it. Instead, they pause. They examine it. Epictetus taught, do not say, I have been injured, but I have received the impression that I've been injured. He knew that language frames reality, and that reframing could liberate the soul. To name a thought is to introduce space. It's like seeing a shadow and instead of jumping back in fear, saying, that's a shadow, not a monster. The fear may still flicker, but it no longer rules you. In acceptance and commitment therapy, this is called cognitive diffusion, the process of separating yourself from your thoughts so they lose their grip. Instead of wrestling them, you label them. There's the thought that I'm not enough. There's the story that I'll always fail. The moment you do this, the thought becomes an object, not an identity. The mind loves to speak in absolutes. It presents every fear as fact, every doubt as destiny. But thoughts are not prophets. They are echoes of past wounds, of cultural conditioning, of old beliefs picked up like luggage you forgot you were carrying. When you name a thought, you hold it up to the light and ask, is this true, or just familiar? Imagine standing at a train station. Trains pull in and out all day. Some are angry. Some are fearful. Some are loud with shame. You can watch them come and go. You don't have to board everyone. Naming the thought is standing on the platform, letting the train pass. There is a certain dignity in doing this. You are no longer the victim of your inner dialogue. You become its witness. And the witness has choice. This doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become precise. Instead of being swept away by I can't handle this, you recognize I'm having the thought that I can't handle this. Then you breathe. Then you act. Clarity returns not because the thought vanishes, but because you are no longer fused with it. Over time, this practice builds inner trust. The more you observe, the more you remember, thoughts are not threats, just messengers. And not all messengers tell the truth. So the next time a familiar narrative arrives about your worth, your future, your past, try this small shift. Don't deny the thought. Don't fight it. Just name it. Create space between you and it. Then watch what happens. The storm might still rage, but you are no longer inside it. You are not what you think. You are the one who sees the thought arise, labels it, and gently lets it go. Naming a thought creates space between you and it. Language shapes identity. Observe the difference between I am and I'm thinking. Cognitive diffusion dissolves the illusion of thought as truth. What recurring thought could you name today instead of becoming? When a difficult thought arises, pause and say, I'm having the thought that. Notice how it feels. Chapter 4: The Inner Citadel. There is a place within you that cannot be breached. The Stoics called it the inner citadel. Not a wall to keep the world out, but a sanctuary to keep your essence intact. It is the part of you that remains untouched by circumstance, unshaken by opinion, and undiminished by failure. The world may batter the gates, but it cannot enter unless you open the door. Marcus Aurelius returned to this image often. As emperor, he lived amid war, plague, and betrayal. But in Meditations, he wrote of retreat, not to the countryside or a villa, but to the inner fortress of his own mind. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul, he said. It was not escape. It was return. To live from the citadel is to remember what is always within your control, your thoughts, your judgments, your responses. The world can take much, your plans, your possessions, your comfort. But it cannot take your will unless you hand it over. Epictetus, once a slave, understood this deeply. He said, lameness is an impediment to the leg, but not to the will. In other words, pain may reach the body, but suffering must pass through your consent. But how do you find this citadel when life feels chaotic? Begin with the breath. Not to escape, but to anchor. Close your eyes. Inhale. Exhale. This is the gate. Then ask, what is in my control right now? Not tomorrow. Not the next hour. This moment. The answer is always the same: your attitude, your attention, your action. Imagine a storm outside stone walls. Wind howls. Rain lashes. But inside, a fire glows. The noise remains, but it does not reach you. Your breath is steady. Your mind aware. This is not denial. It is discipline. It is the choice to act from principle, not panic. Modern psychology echoes this ancient truth. In stressful moments, narrowing your focus to what you can control calms the nervous system and restores agency. Viktor Frankl, survivor of concentration camps, wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." That is the citadel. It is built not in comfort but in confrontation. Each time you choose calm over chaos, presence over panic, you strengthen its walls. Each time you catch yourself mid-reactivity and return to clarity, you lay another stone. It is not built in a day, but with every conscious act. There will be moments you forget. You will be swept into anger, fear, worry. That is human. But each return is a homecoming. Each breath a key. The citadel does not punish. It waits. In times of emotional intensity, do not ask the world to be different. Ask yourself, what would the me inside the citadel do right now? That question alone shifts you from reaction to response. It reminds you who you are beneath the noise. You are not fragile. You have a center. Built not of steel but of soul. The Stoics did not avoid the world. They entered it fully, but from the stronghold within. You can do the same. Return often. The world will pull you outward. The citadel calls you inward. And in that stillness, you will find strength untouched by circumstance. The inner citadel is your unshakable core. Control lies in your response, not in events. Strength comes from conscious returns to the center. When you feel overwhelmed, what would your inner citadel self choose to do? Today, pause and ask, what is in my control right now? Then act from that place. Chapter 5: The Gap Between Stimulus and Response. A door slams. A message goes unanswered. A comment lands the wrong way. Instantly your body reacts. Muscles tense. Thoughts flood in. The old story begins: they're ignoring you. You messed up. Something's wrong. The stimulus arrives, and without pause, the reaction follows. But in between, there is a hidden moment, a space so small it's easy to miss, yet powerful enough to change your life. The Stoics knew of this space, even if they never named it. Modern thinkers, like Viktor Frankl, brought it into sharper focus. Between stimulus and response, there is a space, Frankl wrote. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. The Stoics might have nodded in agreement. They spent their lives trying to stretch that space, widening it through practice, clarity, and will. To react is animal. To respond is human. The difference is awareness. When something provokes you, the mind wants to leap. It draws on memory, bias, and fear to fill the gap with old reactions. But reaction is not fate. It is habit. And like all habits, it can be broken. Imagine standing on a narrow bridge between two cliffs. On one side, the stimulus. On the other, your response. That bridge is choice. It may sway. The winds may howl. But it is there. And the longer you can stand still on it, the more freedom you discover. The Stoics trained for this stillness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He did not mean suppression. He meant the deliberate shaping of one's inner life. When insulted, slighted, or shaken, he asked, "Is this within my control? Does this require my judgment to hurt me?" Every reaction is a collaboration. Life provides the spark. You supply the fuel. To master the gap is not to become cold. It is to become conscious. When anger rises, you do not need to become it. When fear knocks, you can choose not to answer. The emotion still moves through you, but you decide what it moves into. Neuroscience supports this. The amygdala, responsible for threat detection, fires instantly. But the prefrontal cortex, the seat of reasoning, needs more time. That's the gap. A breath can be enough. A pause. A question, what is the wisest next move? That moment is the forge of freedom. Start small. When someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of shouting, pause. Feel the tension. Name it. Breathe. Then decide. When a friend's silence stings, notice the story forming in your mind. Wait. Ask if it's true. Let the space widen. This is not weakness. This is strength refined into grace. Over time, the gap grows. You catch yourself sooner. You see the story before it becomes a script. You interrupt the reflex with reflection. And from that place you act not from fear, but from clarity. The world will not stop provoking you. But it can stop controlling you. Between the spark and the fire, there is always a breath. Always a choice. You are not bound to the first impulse. You are not the echo of your conditioning. You are the stillness between. And in that stillness, a better life waits. Between every trigger and reaction lies a space. That space is where conscious response is born. Strength is choosing rather than reacting. What recent moment do you wish you'd pause before reacting? What might have changed? Today, when something triggers you, pause. Count to 3. Breathe. Then respond deliberately. Chapter 6. What's in your power? There is a question the Stoics carried like a compass. What is in my power, and what is not? It is deceptively simple. But asked honestly, and often, it becomes a sword that cuts through confusion. Most of what we suffer because we try to control the uncontrollable, manage the unpredictable, or guarantee the uncertain. But control is not found in outcomes. It is found in orientation. Epictetus began his teachings with this premise. Some things are up to us, and some are not. Up to us? Our thoughts, our beliefs, our choices, our actions. Not up to us? The weather, the past, the opinions of others, the roll of the dice. Knowing the difference, and acting accordingly is the root of wisdom. And yet the mind rebels. It wants to grip tighter, shout louder, force a result. When something goes wrong, the instinct is to fix, to worry, to plan obsessively. But clarity does not come from force. It comes from focus, specifically, focusing only on what you can actually influence. Picture a circle drawn in the sand. Inside it are your thoughts, your words, your breath, your actions. Outside it are everything else, other people's reactions, the economy, your childhood, tomorrow. When you live inside the circle, you are grounded. When you chase what's outside, you are scattered. The modern world sells the illusion of control. Metrics, apps, endless information, all of it designed to make you feel like nothing is out of reach. But no algorithm can guarantee peace. And no amount of preparation can prevent life from unfolding on its own terms. Acceptance is not defeat. It is alignment. Imagine a captain sailing into a storm. He cannot control the sea. But he can trim the sails, adjust the rudder, steady his breath. He focuses on what is his to command. That is enough. The same applies to life. You cannot control how others treat you, but you can control your integrity. You cannot control the market, but you can control your effort. You cannot control time, but you can control attention. Cognitive research confirms this. When people focus on what's within their control, anxiety drops and resilience increases. Power returns, not over life, but within it. The more energy you waste trying to change the unchangeable, the less you have to shape what's actually yours. This is not about passivity. It's about precision. The Stoics were not indifferent. They acted decisively, courageously, but only within the realm of their control. The rest they released. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." He didn't concern himself with what others did. He returned to what was his to govern. The practice begins in small moments. A delayed flight. A rude comment. A plan undone. Notice where your mind goes. Does it spiral outward or return inward? Ask yourself, gently, what is mine to choose right now? The answer is always the same, your response. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of clarity. And clarity comes when you stop trying to steer the wind and instead steer the sails. You are not powerless. You are powerful within the circle of your control. Stay there. Act from there. Let the rest be what it will be. Power lies in your response, not in outcomes. Control what you can: thoughts, words, actions. Let go of the rest with dignity. Where in your life are you trying to control what isn't yours? Today, name one thing outside your control and release it. Then choose one thing within it and act on that. Chapter 7: The Theater of the Mind. The mind is a theater, and thoughts are its actors. Some speak in whispers, others shout from center stage. Each day, a new drama unfolds, memories dressed as villains, imagined futures in costume, inner critics performing monologues that leave you restless and raw. But there's one role more important than all the others: the observer in the audience, watching it all unfold without losing themselves in the performance. The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience confirmed it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Put from you the belief that I have been wronged, and the feeling of being wronged is gone." He wasn't denying injustice. He was recognizing the mechanism. The thought shapes the emotion, not the event itself. When you sit in the audience of your mind, you can question the script instead of reacting to every scene. Most people live on the stage. They become the anxious character, the angry monologue, the fearful projection. They forget it's a play. They forget they are not the role, but the one aware of it. And like any play, if you step back just far enough, what once overwhelmed you begins to feel strangely manageable. Even absurd. A tragedy becomes a rehearsal. A crisis, just another act. This practice is not detachment in the cold sense. It is participation with perspective. You still feel the emotions, but you no longer fuse with them. You still hear the thoughts, but you don't take every line as gospel. You begin to notice the patterns, the recycled scripts, the habitual roles you've been cast in. And once you see the pattern, you can step out of it. Cognitive science calls this metacognition, the ability to think about your thoughts. It's the secret to psychological flexibility. Without it, thoughts control you. With it, you gain the space to decide which thoughts deserve your attention and which are just noise. It's the difference between being on stage under blinding lights and sitting in the quiet rows, arms folded, watching carefully. Try it. The next time a troubling thought arises, "I'll fail, they don't care, I'm not enough," pause. Imagine that thought delivered by an actor under spotlight. Watch the delivery. Notice the tone, the repetition, the flair for drama. Don't mock it, but don't merge with it either. Let it play out. Then choose, will you applaud, revise, or dismiss the performance? Some scripts have been playing for years. They're familiar, even comforting in their misery. But they are not you. They are roles written long ago, by family, culture, trauma, or chance. The Stoics would say, if the role no longer serves the play of life, step out of it. You are not required to keep acting just because the script is familiar. This doesn't mean silencing the mind. It means staging it differently. Giving yourself space. Not reacting to every line. Letting some thoughts finish their scene without interrupting yours. You can't control what plays in the theater, but you can decide how you engage with it. Remember, no matter how convincing the performance, you are not the drama. You are the watcher of the drama. And from that seat, you gain something more precious than comfort, you gain clarity. When the curtain closes each night, the actors bow and vanish into the dark. But the observer remains, steady and unchanged. That is who you truly are. Your mind is a theater, thoughts are actors, not facts. Observation creates space between stimulus and self. Clarity comes from watching, not merging. What recurring mental script do you keep starring in? And what would happen if you stepped out of the role? Today, when a difficult thought arises, pause and say, "That's an actor on stage." Watch, don't join. Chapter 8: The Practice of Premeditatio Malorum. To modern ears, it sounds grim, premeditation of evils. But to the Stoics, it was a gateway to peace. Premeditatio malorum is the practice of imagining what could go wrong before it does. Not to dwell in fear, but to rehearse resilience. To anticipate difficulty, not with dread, but with discipline. The Stoic does not wait for the blow to brace themselves, they steady the mind in advance. Seneca practiced this often. He would write about the loss of possessions, the turning of fortune, even death itself. He didn't do this to invite suffering but to lessen its sting. He robs present ills of their power. He wrote, "Who has perceived their coming beforehand? The surprise is what shatters. Forethought softens the blow. Imagine walking into cold water. If you expect warmth, the chill stuns. But if you know what's coming, your body adjusts. So too with life. Disappointment hurts less when it's been considered. Fear shrinks when you've looked it in the eye before it arrives." Modern psychology calls this mental contrasting or defensive pessimism. Studies show that people who visualize potential obstacles alongside their goals are better prepared, more grounded, and ultimately more successful. It is not negativity. It is strategic preparation. By rehearsing adversity, you reduce its power. You do not suffer twice, you suffer less. But this is not worry dressed up in Stoic robes. Worry is chaotic, unfocused. It loops endlessly without resolution. Premeditatio malorum is structured, brief, and purposeful. It asks, what could go wrong? How would I respond? What is within my control? And most important, can I survive it? Try it now. Picture something you fear. The job loss. The illness. The rejection. Let the image sharpen. Then, calmly, walk through it. What would actually happen? What would you lose? What would remain? Your breath. Your values. Your ability to act with integrity. These cannot be taken. They are yours. Always. The goal is not to become numb. It is to become familiar. When fear becomes familiar, it loses its grip. You begin to see that what you feared is bearable, survivable, sometimes even instructive. You are not rehearsing disaster. You are strengthening your readiness. There is also gratitude hidden inside this practice. When you imagine loss, you wake up to what you still have. Every moment becomes brighter. The warm bed. The clean water. The voice of someone you love. It's all sharper when you've pictured its absence. In that way, premeditatio malorum isn't just a preparation for pain, it's a lens for presence. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself each morning, people will be rude, selfish, unjust. But he would not be surprised. He would be ready. When you wake up in the morning, he wrote, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant. This was not cynicism. It was freedom. By expecting less, he suffered less. By preparing for the worst, he preserved his best. This practice doesn't make life easier. It makes you steadier. Like a ship tested in harsh waters, your hull thickens. Your hands grow confident. You no longer beg the sea to calm. You learn to sail. Premeditatio malorum prepares you for adversity, not with fear, but with strength. Fear shrinks when faced intentionally. Imagining loss sharpens gratitude. What fear are you avoiding that might lose its power if you calmly imagined it? Tonight, visualize one thing that could go wrong tomorrow. Plan your response, not to worry, but to be ready. Chapter 9, Memento Mori, Moment of Clarity. You will die. These are not words of despair, but of awakening. Memento Mori, remember you must die, was not a morbid fixation for the Stoics, but a daily practice of clarity. To carry death gently in the mind is to strip away illusion, entitlement, and distraction. It reminds you that time is not promised, that moments are not infinite, and that what truly matters must not be postponed. Death is the great clarifier. It makes trivial things tremble and reveals the essence beneath the noise. What once felt urgent, status, resentment, minor slights, dissolves under its gaze. What remains are the only things that were ever real: presence, virtue, love, and the way you choose to meet the moment in front of you. The Stoics did not fear death. They feared a life unlived. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He did not mean time spent resting or being still. He meant the time lost to mindless worry, petty arguments, and chasing approval from those who do not even know themselves. To remember death is to reorder life. To know what is fleeting is to finally hold it with care. Modern psychology confirms what ancient wisdom already knew. People who contemplate mortality regularly, without obsession, tend to live with greater intention. They savor ordinary moments, let go of grudges faster, and prioritize depth over distraction. Death, when seen clearly, becomes a teacher. Its lesson is simple: you do not have forever. So how will you spend what you do have? This is not a call to urgency in the frantic sense. It is not a demand to do more, acquire more, prove more. It is an invitation to choose wisely, to pause before speaking, to breathe before reacting, to love while you still can. When you remember that this could be your last conversation, your last sunrise, your last walk home, everything sharpens. Nothing is taken for granted. Memento mori is not a shadow looming over joy. It is the light that makes joy visible. It is the awareness that every hello contains the seed of a final goodbye. And that makes the hellos sacred. The smile, the silence, the shared meal, all of it becomes luminous when seen through the lens of impermanence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." This was not gloom. It was guidance. A reminder that to live well is to die without regret. Not because you did everything, but because you were present for what mattered. When thoughts become noisy, when anxiety swells, when anger flares, return to this: you are mortal. So is everyone you love. Let that soften you. Let that center you. What feels unbearable often fades under the weight of perspective. The traffic jam, the harsh word, the delayed plan, they shrink when you remember that your time is finite. You are not here forever. But you are here now. And that is enough. To carry death in your pocket is to walk more lightly, speak more kindly, and act more deliberately. It is not a burden. It is a compass. Memento mori reminds you to live with intention, not fear. Death clarifies what truly matters. Mortality makes the present sacred. If you knew today was your last, what would suddenly matter more, and what would fall away? Tonight, reflect on this. If I don't know how many days remain, how will I treat tomorrow? Chapter 10. Detach, don't deny. Emotions are not enemies. They are signals, messengers carrying information about how you are interpreting the world. Anger, fear, sadness, even shame, all arise from judgments, beliefs, and expectations. To feel them is human. To drown in them is optional. The Stoics never taught the suppression of emotion. They taught something far more difficult and powerful: detachment without denial. Detachment is not numbness. It is not pretending you don't care. It is the space you create between the feeling and the reaction. It is standing in the storm without becoming the storm. Denial pushes the emotion away and buries it. Detachment watches it arise, names it, and lets it pass without clinging to it or being ruled by it. Seneca warned that emotions grow stronger when ignored. A fire hidden does not extinguish, it spreads in silence. The Stoic path is not to avoid feeling, but to examine what gives the feeling its fuel. You were insulted. You feel rage. But what is the cause? The insult, or your belief that it shouldn't have happened? That you deserve better? That your worth is under threat? Strip it down, and you will often find that pain comes not from the event, but from the meaning assigned to it. Modern therapy echoes this. Emotional regulation is not repression. It's awareness paired with choice. You can feel anger without lashing out. You can feel sadness without collapsing. You can feel fear and still move forward. The goal is not a flat emotional landscape, it's one where storms pass through but do not uproot you. Imagine emotions as waves on the ocean. Denial is pretending the wave isn't coming. Detachment is learning to surf. It's allowing the wave to rise and fall without mistaking it for the sea. When you detach, you acknowledge the wave, but you don't let it pull you under. You remain the observer, not the undertow. There is strength in this stance. It allows you to act from values, not reactions. When someone offends you, you feel the sting, but you pause, reflect, and respond from clarity, not ego. When fear arises, you notice its voice, but you check its story before obeying its command. This is not cold. This is composure. It is emotional honesty guided by reason. To detach is also to stay connected to reality. Denial distorts. It tells you the pain isn't real, or that you shouldn't feel it. Detachment says, the pain is here. Let's understand it. Let's give it a name. Let's sit with it, but not worship it. Feelings are visitors, not rulers. You can greet them without handing over the keys. In moments of difficulty, practice saying this to yourself. I am feeling anger. That's okay. Let me pause and choose how to respond. That one sentence is a doorway. It shifts you from identification to observation, from impulsive reaction to deliberate choice. It reminds you that you are the host, not the emotion. The Stoic is not unfeeling. The Stoic is unwavering. Like a tree in the wind, they bend but do not break. They feel deeply but act wisely. And that wisdom begins the moment you stop pushing feelings away and start meeting them with clarity and courage. Detach, not to escape, but to remain free. Deny nothing. Acknowledge everything. Then decide. Detachment is space, not suppression. Emotions are valid, but they are not commands. Clarity comes from observing, not avoiding. Which emotion do you most often deny, and what might change if you chose to detach instead? Today, when an emotion arises, pause and name it. Say, I am feeling, and that's okay. Then choose your next move. Chapter 11, Return to the Sky. A thought appears. Sharp, familiar, and uninvited. It tugs at your attention like a persistent wind. You feel the old pull, to react, to spiral, to believe. But something has changed. You pause. You breathe. You rise. Not to escape, but to return, to stillness, to clarity, to the place within you that observes without attachment. You return to the sky. From the beginning, this has been the quiet truth: you are not your thoughts. You are the space in which they arise. The sky does not chase away the clouds. It allows them, holds them, and remains untouched. This is the mind in its natural state, vast, open, undisturbed. Thoughts may storm through, but they cannot alter the sky. Each chapter has offered a way back to that sky. Not as a destination, but as a recognition. You've learned to name the thoughts rather than merge with them. To rise above and gain perspective. To stand within your inner citadel and act from what's in your power. To rehearse hardship with calm, remember death with reverence, and allow emotions without being ruled by them. These are not techniques. They are ways of seeing. The Stoics did not promise ease. They promise freedom, the kind that can't be taken because it comes from within. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and still found time to write reminders to himself. You can choose your response. You can return to reason. You are not the storm. You are the sky. His words weren't grand declarations. They were anchors. Simple, repeatable truths for a restless mind. You now hold those same tools. Not to eliminate difficulty, but to meet it with grace. Not to silence thoughts, but to disarm their power. Every time you observe instead of obey, every time you pause instead of react, every time you choose clarity over chaos, you are returning to the sky. And it is a return, not a one-time event. The mind will forget. Thoughts will try to convince you they are you. Fear will disguise itself as fact. That is the nature of the weather. But the sky never disappears. It waits. Behind the clouds. Beneath the noise. Always present. So when the world shakes you, remember the mountain. When judgment rises, recall the theater. When fear speaks, walk its path in advance. When anger stirs, feel it fully without fusing. And when all else fails, simply breathe. Inhale. Exhale. There you are. Sky, not storm. This is clarity. Not perfection. Not constant peace, but presence, awareness. The ability to stand inside your life with open eyes and an anchored heart. To see what is yours to hold and what must be released. To suffer less not because pain disappears, but because confusion does. The Stoics handed us ancient tools. You have sharpened them. But the tools are not the end. They are the beginning. Now comes the practice. The return. Again and again, without drama, without shame. Just the quiet remembering, I am not this thought. I am not this fear. I am the one who sees. You are the sky. Calm, vast, and free. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Every tool you've practiced is a way back to clarity. The sky of the mind is always present, return to it often. Which Stoic tool do you feel most drawn to, and how can you begin using it daily? Today, when thoughts feel heavy, close your eyes and say, I am the sky. Let that awareness steady you. Take care and be well.